Hello friends, welcome to my channel together with Abhi. This happens to be the last video for the module Virtual Private Cloud. We already have covered some theory and we have done a practical demonstration of creating Virtual Private Cloud, multiple components and how they are mapped within Virtual Private Cloud. In this video, we are just going to cover the summary and few important concepts that were left out. After that, we will conclude it with question and answers, which could help you with certain interviews and certifications. Not too many questions, but will just give you an idea on how possibly could the questions revolve around VPC. So the first thing is we will cover the main points. Address range must be chosen at the time of VPC creation and cannot be changed later. As I had mentioned, this is a very important thing. As soon as you create a VPC, you must choose an address range, IP address range, and you should not be able to, you will not be actually able to change it at a later stage. So please choose it wisely. While choosing, you must also ensure that any connection, any network connection, which is possible, which has possibility of being connected in the future, it must not have address range which could be overlapping with the VPC that you just created. There is a uniqueness which is required. Also, when you actually provide some IP address ranges for us at a subnet level, 5 of the IP addresses, first 4 and the last one IP address, is reserved by AWS for internal networking purposes. So if in case you have around 256 IP address range available ideally, then please subtract 5 out of those. So you would be made available 251 and subsequently like for any other values. Default VPC, so when we have already seen it in the practical demonstration as well, there is a VPC which gets created by default, and when it gets created it also comes up with certain default subnets, 3 default subnets actually. If in case there are 3 availability zones, 3 default subnets, 1 subnet per availability zone, 1 route table. If in case nothing has been associated, you haven't explicitly created a root table, have not explicitly specifically mapped your instance to a root table, it gets associated with this default root table. And a network ACL is also created by default. Again, the same mechanism for it. We will go into detail the difference between network ACL and security groups. Subnets must reside in one availability zone and they cannot span availability zones, but one availability zone can have multiple subnets. I have been reiterating on this point again and again. Now, subnets could be public, private, or VPN only. It depends on the internet connectivity, whether you have a connection with internet gateway or not. If you have, then it means it's a public subnet. If not, it's a private subnet. There's a concept of VPN, virtual private network. If in case your subnet is able to have a connection to your virtual private network, it is called as a subnet VPN. Or this is also established through the route table. The internet connectivity is managed through routes, which are kind of set of rules which tells you whether you have a connection from which place to which place. So public subnet has a route table entry that allows connection with internet gateway. Route table defines sets of rules called routes that determine where traffic is diverted. Default route, called as local route, which cannot be modified and removed, allows intra VPC communication. As I mentioned to you, all the components within VPC will be able to talk to each other through a route which is called as local, and you can see it by default created every time. It has an implicit router. You do not need to create anything related to router. It gets created itself. That's why we have not even created it in the practical session. VPC comes with a default main route table that we can modify or create another custom route table also. We saw that. Subnet must be associated to one route table. If not specified explicitly, it is mapped to the main route table. Internet gateway allows communication between instances in VPC and the outside world. As the name suggests, gateway. Gateway means a connection to some outside entity, and in this case, this entity happens to be internet or the outside world. Internet gateways, they have another job at their hand, which is called as network address translation for converting public IPs to private IPs. We have even seen it through the purpose of an analogy. Elastic IPs are really good because they are not tied to any instance. They are transferable from one instance to another, but important to note that they are region specific, though they can be transferred, but only within the region, not across the regions. EIPs are charged until release. So even if they are not associated to any instance, they are still charged until you release them. So please don't forget to release them, otherwise you will be charged. EC2 instances must have a public IP or EIP to have internet connection, which is not a requirement for private subnet instances, because you do not need connectivity through internet. That's why we usually do not assign public IP or elastic IP to EC2 instances which are launched within private subnet. Now let's see difference between security group and network ACL. This diagram, everything you can see at the AWS documentation, which reference I have already provided to you. Important to note is security groups operates at the instance level. Even in the analogy diagram that we had shown to you, there also had mentioned. If in case you want security at the Pune office level or Mumbai office level, which is at the subnet level, then you need to use network ACL. From the question which comes in certification interview, network ACL allow and deny rules. It has both allow as well as deny rules. However, security groups by default denies everything and you can only provide allow rules. Okay, security groups are stateful whereas network ACL are stateless. I have been reiterating on this stateful thing. Stateful means if in case some traffic has gone out from the instance, even if you do not specifically mention the rule for the incoming response, it will be allowed. That is what it means to be stateful. In case of security groups, all rules are evaluated before deciding whether to allow traffic. So as I mentioned to you, if in case there are multiple rules, all the rules are aggregated and according to it, it is decided whether to allow traffic or not. But it doesn't happen this way in network ACL. Network ACL, it is a numbered rule system. As you can see in the left bottom corner, there are rule numbered 100, 200, 500. This is the way it is numbered. So for the lowest number, it will see what kind of rule is there. Based on that, it allows. Then it moves to another rule, higher number rule, and as such. Also, security group is applied just at an instance level. However, network ACL is automatically applied to all instances in the subnets that is associated with. But in case of security group, you have to explicitly specify at the time of launch. So also there is one default security group. If in case you have not mapped anything, specifically to any security group, your instance, then it gets mapped to this default security group, which cannot be deleted, and it allows outbound traffic and denies everything else. So many of the questions come around this allow rules and deny rules for network ACL and at which level it operates. Important security mechanisms for any cloud. Another thing is these are just certain default quotas. Many questions do come around this quotas or what are the limits for different entities within VPC. There are many many items here, but I have just taken out all those items which I think could be useful just to provide you a very high level view. These values could change even in the future, so you have to go and check the AWS documentation whenever you go for any certification interview to just get the latest values. But most important is VPC per region count is 5 and subnets per VPC is 200. Mainly question revolve around this thing only. Now there's another concept called as VPC peering. Peering, as it means you have a peer. Okay, so VPC A has a peer called as VPC B and vice versa. And you want between two VPCs some inter-network connectivity. So I want that instance in one VPC could connect to instance in another VPC. So this could be established through VPC peering connection, but there are certain constraints to it. One, there is no transitive pairing. Transitivity, as it means, is A equal to B, B equal to C, then A equal to C. It doesn't happen that way in pairing. So if in case you have an A VPC which has connection to both B and C, it doesn't mean B would be able to communicate directly to C also. No, you will have to do specific pairing between B and C in this case. And as I mentioned earlier also, if in case two networks VPC are communicating to each other, there should not be any overlapping of the IP addresses or CIDR blocks. Okay, so that is main thing. Now, another question that usually come around is NAT Gateway and NAT Instances. Earlier, it used to be NAT Instances only. As the name suggests, instance means you have to specifically go to EC2, launch an instance. What kind of an instance should it be? You should look for something like NAT, and it usually have something like Amazon AMI VPC NAT in their names. You have to take care of it. It is entirely customer's responsibility to manage it for any patching, security, anything. So as it is an instance, you can mention a security group also, and network ACL, obviously, since it resides within a subnet. So network ACL is also there. But one significant thing here that you have to do is you will have to disable the source destination check. Now let's see NAT gateway, because there were too many problems associated with managing a NAT instance on their own by a customer. That's why AWS provides this managed service, which is called a NAT gateway. Here you do not have to worry about managing it. AWS manages for you and it is made highly available to you. Now, since it is not an instance, therefore nothing like security group here. But obviously, since it resides within public subnet, network ACL does come into picture. So that is all that you need to know about NAT gateway and NAT instances. If in case you want to check more further details on the differences between the two, you can refer to the documentation as mentioned here. Now there's another thing called as endpoint. Okay, endpoint, if in case you want to establish connection within VPC or between VPC components and some particular service between AWS, then you can create it using an endpoint. It utilizes a technology called as AWS Private Link, and this technology lets you have the communication with the service without requiring any internet connectivity, NAT gateway, NAT device, VPC connection, or AWS Direct Connect connection. So your network, your traffic is not going out of Amazon network at all. Okay, this is a very unique concept. The good part is because of the security, the kind of traffic it is establishing, it is quite fast and it is secure. It never leaves your Amazon network, but this is only available for certain services. So as I remember, currently it is available for S3 and DynamoDB. But yes, this is a good concept. Maybe if in case you are interested in this, we can cover a practical demonstration on this. If you want that, please do comment and I'll take it up. Last thing that we are going to discuss here is about AWS Site-to-Site VPN. Direct Connect is something we can possibly cover in some other module because it requires its own time. But AWS Site-to-Site VPN. So if in case you have created a VPC within AWS network and you also have a on-premises network, you want to establish a connection between these two. How will you do that? For that, there is a VPN connection which can be established. To establish a VPN connection, you will have to install or set up a customer gateway on your side, and on AWS side, there needs to be a virtual private gateway which needs to be installed or come up with. Customer gateway could be a physical device or a software application. And as if in case you go into the details of VPN connection, there is a tunnel which gets established, okay, which is not interfered by regular internet traffic. So this tunnel initiation only happens when the it is the customer gateway which is taking up the initiative of initiating the connection. Okay, so mainly the questions around this thing is what is the VPN connection device which happens to be on the on-premises network side. So the answer is customer gateway. If in case on the other side it is virtual private gateway. This is really beyond the scope of a beginner's thing to know. I believe you should just first focus on mainly on AWS related things. That's why I'm not going deep dive into all these things. But what you should know from the certification point of view, those things that I'm just covering here. Uh, Now, AWS Direct Connect, I will just give you a brief introduction as to what happens. Now, there are certain telecom providers which have direct access. They have got the direct lines, direct cables to the AWS data centers. Okay, this gives them an edge in terms of network connectivity, right? So, if in case you happen to have a communication set up to these direct connect locations, you will be able to utilize the benefit of having a direct connect because it is done over the direct lines or the direct cables. right? So this is mainly just that you just have to see, not this service might not be available for everyone, because it depends on whether you have a direct connect location near you or not. So that is all what we have for AWS Direct Connect, but uh, it would require time of its own, a complete module in itself. So we just wanted to give you a brief overview of what Direct Connect happens to be. Now let's move over to the questions. These questions are just to give you a feel as to how could possibly the questions be around VPC. Choose an option that defines the maximum IP address range for an AWS VPC. Uh, out out of all these options, /16 works the best, because 2 to the power of 16 is what the maximum IP address range is available. It is a concept of subnet masking, which I've covered in the first video for VPC module, so you can go through that. So the correct answer here is /16, which provides you 2 to the power of 16 IP address range. A VPC can have more than one internet gateway attached to it. No, it cannot. So the correct answer is false. As I mentioned, a VPC can just have one internet gateway at a time, not more than that, because uh, it is very highly available. It is managed AWS service, and they have really handled it well. So you do not need more than one, because only one outside connection you need to establish. So one internet gateway is good enough. Now, which mechanism can be used to deny access to instances from traffic originating from a susceptible location? So if you see that there you are getting a traffic which you see could be susceptible, which you think is not a right traffic, it is trying to do something fishy on your VPC on your network, then how can you stop that? You want to deny this. So as I mentioned, many of the questions around security groups and network ACL revolve around what allows and what denies. Network ACL has the capability to both allow and deny. Security groups have just the capability of allowing. So the correct answer here is network ACL. So guys, that is all that I wanted to discuss with you with respect to VPC. The most important thing is you understand what VPC is. You should be able to create VPC on your own, and you should be able to create all the entities and establish connectivity between them. So the practical part is the most important for VPC. Rest on a very high level, which questions could possibly be of interest with respect to interviews and certification, that is something I've just covered in this video. In the very first video, I have provided you an actual overview of different components within VPC and how they're linked together through an analogy. I believe this is good enough for you at the beginner level. So please do like this video, share and comment, and also please do subscribe to my channel. It helps you. It helps me actually to keep myself motivated. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Cheers.